Lesson of Logos and Letters. My name is Liam, and we're going to wrap up the sort of idea of more or less than, and substances and all other sorts of things that we were just speaking about. This is to this area, this paragraph that I'm looking at here, this box, is to explain everything that we just looked at before, how it's possible. Okay, and yeah, let's just dive straight into it. So, kai kalon heteron heteru malon kalon kai eton legetai. So, we can say that one thing is more beautiful than another. Heteron heteru, the one to the other. It's like an idiom, really. And beauty here, kalon, more so, beautiful one to the other. Kalon kai eton. Right, so, and less than, it can be spoken of as less than. So I don't know what you want to say. So maybe this lady here thinks that this man is more beautiful than that man. Okay, so, or she might think that this boat is more beautiful than that boat. Okay, or this child is more beautiful than that child. All right, or less than. Okay. So that's fine, that's natural. Why? Because we're speaking about a quality here, not a substance. You know, beauty and colors, they're not substances, they're accidents, they're qualities. Kai auto de autu malon kaeton legetai, hoyonto soma lukon, on malon lukon ainai legetai nun e proteron. This is what I was saying with the pyramid before. So, and also the same thing, right, to itself really, can be more or less, can be spoken more or less. Just as the white body, a white body is said to be more white now than before. All right, nune proteron. So proteron, you know, proteros, first, foremost. Nun, now, which is you know, imagine this. Imagine if you had a, you're building a home and you had a fence, okay, and you painted it white, okay, you painted it white and you had a beautiful white fence outside your home, and over time, what happens? Well, dirt and pollution and the sun and weather events, mud, whatever it could be, graffiti makes it less white over time, and it becomes duller and grayer, and it loses its the shine of its whiteness, right? But then you paint over it again, and now it can be said to be more white than before. All right, so same thing with beauty. Okay, so if you have a painting, if this was your painting hanging up on at home, you had a big canvas. It was huge. It was like 4 feet by 4 feet canvas, right? You had this painting. Over time, over decades, things like, who knows, cigarette or cigar smoke. You could have pollution as well. You could have dust storms. You could have floods, whatever it might be. Things get into your home, get into the room, they ruin the painting. But you could have someone restore the painting, and as it's restored, the painting regains its beauty, its life, its attractiveness. It pleases the senses more, it delights the senses more. Really, that's the definition of beauty, something that delights the senses. But obviously there's intellectual beauty, so that doesn't cover it entirely. So something can be more beautiful now than it was before. Something can be greener than it was before, okay? After floods in the outback, all right, where's a painting of the outback? Do I have one? I don't think I do, but let's have a look at this. You know, it's quite bare right now, but if it were to flood for a few days, this would become a vibrant green. It'd become almost jungle-like, okay? So things can change like that, but the ideas of these qualities are fixed in our minds. Kai thermon, on malon thermon, kaeton legetai. So even heat can be hotter or colder, obviously, at different times, either now or before. Continue on. Heidege usia uden malon kaeton legetai. So, but on the other hand, but contrary, however, substance is never more or less spoken of as more or less. We just don't speak of substance in that same way. Why? Because it's a substance. It's not a quality. It's not a accident. Okay, it doesn't come and go. Udegar anthropos malon nun anthropos e protoron legetai. So again, we're going back to things we've already discussed up here, and we're just covering our bases. So after all this explanation of how qualities change and how a quality can be more or less depending on the time, depending on the amount of entropy it's experienced, we don't say that of man. Okay? Now here, is he speaking of the species in general? Yeah, sure, he can speak of the species in general if he wants to, but we're also speaking specifically about the individual man. Okay, so if you go back here, she's not, now that she's older and she's not a child anymore, she's a young adolescent probably, she's not less, okay, she's not less human because she's older. No, that primary substance is fixed. All right, it's fixed there. Udegeton alon uden. All right, so of the other primary substance, of all the other things of this kind, there is no more or less. Hosseis din husiai. Okay, so take your pick. Doesn't have to just be human. I know we talk about human a lot, but angel, okay, seraphim, cherubim, fallen angel. Take your pick. Quasar, yes, like the primary substance of the quasar, or the primary substance of the black hole is a more or less black hole or quasar. Okay, until it goes through substantial change, until its lifespan expires. Okay, hosteukan epi dekoitoi he usia to malon kaitoeton, and he wraps a bow around it, ties a bow around it now. Just as the primary substance, okay, should not, is like a conditional sort of setup here, doesn't take up more or less. So he started saying that up here, look, epitekestai, and then he ties the bow on it, okay? And so, thus, the primary substance should not be spoken of as taking up more or less. It doesn't admit of degrees. I used that phrase, I think last lesson or the lesson before. It doesn't admit of degrees. This macropod, this kangaroo mouse, its primary substance doesn't emit of degrees. Neither do any of these, okay? Doesn't emit of degrees, won't change, it's fixed. And that is great news for us. That is one of the core reasons why the universe is intelligible, why existence is understandable, why things can be communicated. Okay, why you are a human being until you die. Why a tiger is a tiger until it dies. It's fixed, stable. If primary substance wasn't stable, nothing would be stable. If substances weren't stable, weren't lasting, nothing would be. It'd just be some flowing ocean, right? It'd just be like, metaphorically, this flowing ocean of chaos, right? It would be the chaos waters of Genesis 1. That's all it would be. There would be no dry, stable land for us to exist upon. You just have meaninglessness. Okay, it would not be good, but that's not the case. The chaos waters don't prevail upon our existence, and there is dry land for us to exist on. That dry land is the substances. They are fixed and stable. and they allow things to be communicated reliably and for things to be understood between different people reliably. So, God be praised for that. Going to leave it there. Short and sweet, this lesson. It's just wrapping a bow on what we've already looked at. Hope you enjoyed it. My name is Liam, and as always, si semper fortis in opere tuo. I'll see you next time.